Okay, getting ready to do the oil pump. So the proper way to do this is to submerge it in oil completely, and you spin it to try to get some of the oil to start bubbling up, prime it up, get it nice and primed. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to let it sit for a while I run off to the store because I got to get a few things. And then when I get back, we will install the oil pump and probably go ahead and fill up with oil, and then I'll start working on maybe the distributor, get it gapped properly, and then I can install it, because you install the oil pump first and then the distributor from the other side of the engine, so you can see it's slotted and you got a tang on from the other side of the engine. That's kind of how the two go together. The oil pump is what spins the distributor. So that's where we're at there. So we're going to go ahead and first got some oil. Put this down in here. Go ahead and fill it up. Okay. Start spinning it. I don't know if you guys can actually see down in there or not, but like that. As I spin it, you'll see some bubbles pop up. Kind of hard to do one-handed, but yeah, there goes a few more bubbles, but you can see it pushing through there. So I'm going to do that a few times, let it sit for a while, do it some more, make sure it's fully primed, and then we'll go from there. Okay, time to install the oil pump. I've got the gasket prepped and ready to go. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, I'm not going to prep the bolts yet, I'm just going to use them to hold it in, and then I'll take one out at a time and get some thread lock on it. So we're going to go ahead and go in. It's going to drip like crazy probably. There we go. Okay. Try and get a bolt in here so it stays. We're going to put oil in it now. First time this thing's seen fresh, clean oil in probably a pretty long time. So I'm going to use up the oil that I primed the pump with first. Hopefully I don't make a mess. I think I'm short by 1 quart, so I may have to grab and go back to the auto parts store and get another quart, but okay, so I'm going to get all the rest of the oil put in, and then the next step will be I'm going to try to turn it over by hand a little bit. I probably can't turn it enough or fast enough in order to get the oil to start really pumping through the system, but I will eventually be able to do that with the starter. It's just that right now I don't have the flywheel back, from being surfaced. It's surfaced, I just need to pick it up, and then I gotta put the new ring gear on it, and then I'll mount the flywheel, and then I can mount the starter. The starter goes right in here and engages with the flywheel, and then that's when I can throw some battery power to it and make this thing turn over on its own, and watch for the oil to prime through the system. And then I'll hook up, probably today I'll go ahead and get the distributor cap on, hook up all the spark plug wires, stuff like that, maybe the coil, and we're getting really close. I'll probably put the carburetor on, and I might even put the air cleaner on just to see what it looks like. So we're almost there. Turns out the starter, the two starters that I had were just too weak. They were kind of getting old and just too weak to turn the motor over when all of the spark plugs were in, so that's not good. So now I've got a new, fully rebuilt, brand new rebuilt starter, and now I'm going to check the compression in each of the cylinders. So I'm going to show you on the first cylinder, on cylinder number 1. I'm going to crank it until this needle stops moving, so I'm going to look at it and then I'll turn it to the camera so you can see the gauge if it's good enough. Try to get it right there. And then after I check all the compression in all the cylinders, and assuming they're all pretty good, of course the rings haven't seated, nothing like that's happened yet, so the compression won't be nearly as high as it should be later on after the motor's broken in. But we're going to do this right now. I'll go through, check every single one of them. I'm going to probably take note of what they are. And then we'll move on to making sure we've got spark. Because in the next day or so we are going to actually start this thing. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and crank it over a few times. Okay, so looks like we got 80 psi. If you can see the gauge there. 80 psi is probably about right for rings that aren't fully seated and all that yet, so the motor's not broken in. I think, if I remember right, it's supposed to be right around 95 to 100, maybe a little over 100. So I'm assuming after everything breaks in and this thing's running real good and everything, that we should probably bump up there. But I'm no expert. We'll find out at some point. So that's where we're at. I'll go ahead and check all the rest of the cylinders. Alright, so checking spark. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the coil hooked up. Just a second here. Put the negative on the coil. Okay, we got positive hooked up, so the coil should be active now. So when I turn the motor over, it should turn over pretty easy because all the spark plugs are out except for one. You should see that light bulb light up. Yep. You can see it strike, so hopefully you can see that on camera. But we are good. We got spark. And I will check all the rest of them. Make sure we're good. I should be lined up properly because with number 6 at top dead center, I turned the, on the compression stroke, I turned the distributor until the points were just starting to open. That's what the manual says. And so then I went off of that, looked at the firing order, lined them all up, plugged them all in, marked them. So we should be good. We are, I believe, ready to start. I've got a vacuum gauge so I can test vacuum when we have it running to make sure we got good vacuum, because that'll have to advance it's got a vacuum advance on the distributor. I'm also going to plug in an oil pressure gauge so we can watch oil pressure when it starts. But other than that, I think we're ready. I'm going to show you guys. I even have exhaust pipe and muffler on. So looks kind of funny, but it's sticking out here. That way the engine doesn't piss off all the neighbors. But there it is. This baby's ready to start, and I'm pretty excited.
You guys could have just called us like if we were done getting going. You had to be out here to supervise the guys getting it done.
You ready? Okay, it's ignition's on. Ready? Mm-hmm.
You want me to open the garage?
Started immediately.
That is fucking incredible right there.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, they barely turned over one time.
Yeah.
There's good.
Yeah.
See it? That's what I'm worried about. I don't understand. That's on 2 fucking batteries. Sounds nice.
Yeah.